Folks, welcome back to the show where people always follow our lead. I'm talking, of course, about Trainwreck Rules, our Vanderpump Rules after show here on Trainwreck Sports. I'm Maniac. Let's get him in here. Quinner, another episode in the books. We're 4 episodes deep already in this season with Dog Days of Summer.
Loved it. Also, I have to blame you for having to explain to my in-laws what I was doing for 10 minutes after forcing everyone to watch Vanderpump Rules here this evening live. So thank you for that.
I'm jealous. You have a studio audience. So shout out everybody watching with Quinner there. Shout out to them. But let's get into it real quick. So in the episode recap, this was all over the place. But again, it seems like just like in the most recent episodes, sprinkles of Sandoval throughout. So you have all kinds of storylines. Katie would rather eat a jean jacket than go on a Schwartz trip to Tahoe. I thought that was a little upsetting, to be honest.
Yeah, she's consistent though, and she's not getting a ton of screen time right now here early in the season, 4 episodes deep. But she's got some good ones, and she's staying true to Ariana, so good for her.
Seriously. And then we have Sheena being pissed at Sandoval. We got Lisa being pissed at Sandoval, but we got a James pool party. We got people of Vanderpump Rules lore. What did you think of James' first party? Spent over $2,000 on it.
I'm happy for James. I was just saying to my wife here, just having a great season, real consistent. You see him continuing his sober journey, although a little heavy on the cannabis beverages at the party, causing a fire. He had a fire on the grill a little bit too. So, tough night.
Yeah. Are you Grills Mafia?
I think I'm a pseudo member. Yeah.
Okay.
You can't have a fire. That's not clean.
Because I know if that fire was happening with my grill setup, I would be panicked. I'm definitely a grill noob, and with the amount of those flames, I would be panicked. James was kind of joking about it.
I'm guessing that's the first time James has used his grill.
He did say that he bought it just for the party. I also liked how he had the Project X. He was like jumping off the roof. Didn't really look as dangerous as it maybe was portrayed, but still pretty cool. Very decent party. And then meanwhile, at the pool party, you got Lala and Schwartz kind of having a little kumbaya. What did you think of that interaction?
So I think I'm going to probably grade out Lala pretty well in this episode. She is having a little bit of this moment of reflection and trying to be a better version of Lala, even though I still think if somebody meets her with certain negative energy here in Tahoe, not going to be great for them. But Lala's trying. And so Schwartz is, for somebody going through that, Schwartz is super easy, right? He's always going to be the likable guy. He's always going to say the things you want to hear from him. And so that scene went down basically how you expect it to with those two.
Yes, I agree. It was kind of like a armistice. You know, they both have bigger enemies at this point, bigger fish to fry, bigger things to focus on. Wasn't surprised there. I guess I am surprised with they've been sprinkling in some support characters, and Billy Lee has kind of filled in the void as someone that can hang out with Sandoval and get some filming done. What do you think about what she's brought to the show this season, and thoughts on that whole spa exchange? Again, a little bit more sympathy for Sandoval this episode.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel sincere, right? It feels like, to your point, they're having to bring people in to like have a partner for him to have some dialogue with that isn't just Schwartz right now, because nobody else wants to just like hang out one-on-one and talk to Sandoval. And also, I can't keep but wondering if those two hooked up, because it feels like the energy between them was a hookup energy. And I don't know. Sheena alluded to it, right, on a couple of podcasts. That Tom and Billy Lee had that kind of past, and it seems a lot like the James and Lala past of hanging out after you had hooked up for a while and had a little bit of a relationship.
Did you enjoy putting a wrap on the pool party? Did you enjoy James becoming Butter Bay a la Salt Bay?
It was a thing. I think that meme's passed though, right? Like that he's now in the realm of me. Yeah.
I'm more shocked that they're in like California and they're all amazed that there's like THC drinks. Like I feel like I like weren't those out there, you know, like a half a decade ago? I'm a little surprised there, but
a bad plug too for that company.
Yeah, I guess speaking of surprise, were you surprised that Sandoval said told Billy that he was kind of saving himself for Raquel? I think that was kind of a twist nobody saw coming into the season, that Sandoval was kind of at the beck and call of Raquel at this point in the juncture.
Do you believe it though? Do you believe anything Sandoval says?
No,
like,
maybe. I think it's a great statement by him if he wants to free roll on the situation, because it puts all the pressure on Raquel, who he knows is at rehab. And actually, that's the most Sandoval move of all. So it's actually super believable now that you bring it up.
Sandoval. Yeah.
Super believable, super Sandoval. And speaking of super believable, you get the girls' powwow at the pool party. Ariana says it's a no-go still on any sympathy for Sandoval. Were you surprised by this? Are you happy with this? Where do you lane in?
I mean, of course, and she's right. Even though I think she's leaning probably too hard into the queen role, I think Schwartz has some solid points that she's made it more of a diva thing than a hurt victim thing. But she's right in that, like, no matter what Sandoval says, even just us kind of joking here this last segment, but like, no matter what he says, it's always veiled in his narcissism, right? Even I hate to poo-poo the depression stuff, but I just think that guy's too narcissistic to even think of a world without Tom Sandoval.
He would want to deprive the world of Tom Sandoval. We've been saying that all season long here on Trainwreck Rules, for sure.
Everything feels manipulative that comes from him, and he's still on the defense every time somebody's approaching him to be like, "Hey, maybe we should have like a conversation." He just wants to like lash out at them. He's not. There's zero remorse in this guy. So she's right. That
there's no doubt we have
makes is sinister.
There's no doubt we have some Bills fans overlap into this Trainwreck Rules, most likely. But I think it was you or someone else at Cover One tweeted, you can not want to pay Gabe Davis what he's going to get on the market, and you can also agree you're going to miss him, and you're going to miss what he brought to this offense as a Bills team. I think this is the exact same situation. You can agree with Tom Schwartz that Ariana isn't the queen of the group and that she's kind of ascended this position, but you can also agree with Ariana that Sandoval is only doing this because of the sympathy he's looking for and because he wants to be invited back to the party. He wants to be back in the social circle, of course.
Yep.
And then just going on now, Joe. Do you have any familiarity with Joe coming into this episode? I had none except for last season when she was on briefly for like an episode.
That was all I knew of her. And I assumed, again, this was another assumption like Billy Lee, that I still assume there was probably more than Schwartz is putting off in their relationship, especially right when he and Katie broke up. I assumed they were just hooking up all the time. Now, friends with benefits.
I got to make every, what is it? Comparison, yada, yada, I can to sports here. So yeah, I think like Billy Lee is basically, you're like your practice squad, like your AJ Klein, your first call. Apparently Joe is kind of like a Kingsley Jonathan, which isn't good for me because I love Kingsley Jonathan, but a fringe player that kind of is people will diehards of the show will say they've seen her backstage and in Snapchats of this crew and things like that. So she's been around. Very interesting. We'll see if she takes on a bigger role as this season goes on. And this goes to the biggest point when the Toms are hanging out with Joe. And Sandoval said something that I actually agree with him and Ted's sympathy for him for the first time. People followed their lead when it came to Lala and Sheena. And it is crazy thinking back on it, but those were two of the people right in the biggest narrative at that time with how to act and how to treat and how to go forward with the situation.
I've been saying that this whole time about Sheena. This entire thing for her has been about her and herself and her content. So again, Tom's right about that in terms of, he probably should not take that stance with Lala in person of being like, oh yeah, well, you made a bunch of content about me, because that's going to backfire for him. You don't want to meet that with fire. But he's not wrong in that they definitely use this to their own advantage and chased clicks and wanted the attention that came with being friends of the victim.
Seriously. And this show definitely delivered a number of storylines. As we go to the last one, James and Graham reunited, Aaron.
Awesome. I didn't see this coming at all. Producers and Lisa set this up to a T. This is what makes this show fantastic, right? You don't see it coming. Producers hit you with a scene that just leaves you all kinds of emotions. James having a great season.
The producers always deliver. James, Lisa always deliver. Speaking of always delivering, get to Picasso'sPizza.net for the best deals on the best pizza in Western New York. Picasso's Pizza always delivering. Speaking of which,
no one segues like you.
Let's get it like a segue. A segue, sexy segue. Yeah. Show scores. I thought this was an average episode. I did not think it was as good as the first or third. Still a good epi though. I'm gonna give it a 6.6.
Okay, I was a little under 6.3, but same vibe.
Okay, it's for both of us. It's our third highest ranking of the season, and we've been basically on the same page for all of our rankings, so I like to see that. I like to see us being on the same page. Poo-poo head of the night episode. Look, you got go ahead, lead the way.
it's got for I hate this because I get asked this before we do the show every night, and it's got to be Scandal, right? But so I have to start drifting outside. It's like asking me who's the Bills MVP every year. It's going to be Josh Allen, right? That's who's going to be the poo-poo head. But in this one, I'm going to throw a curveball. I'm giving this to Allie tonight. Is my poo-poo head of the night. This is so far she's been that sort of just side character, James's arm, very neutral. But tonight, I felt like you got a little hint of siding with Sandoval, maybe a little resentment over the way James reacted to Raquel. And now we got the truth when he confessed to Lala about why he's not drinking, was more of an ultimatum than we made it out to be originally. And so I think that relationship was a bit on the brink. So that maybe there's a little bit more tension going on there. And maybe she's twisting knives behind backs a little more than we realize Allie is.
Very interesting. I don't mind you giving Allie the poo-poo head. You said it best. We have to find people other than Sandoval to give poo-poo head of the night to. I gave it to Sheena last week. This one was actually an easy one, and I was kind of saved by the bell at the end. The temporary owners of Graham that had this biting incident. They're the poo-poo head of the night. Their loss is James' gain. So I won't focus too much on the negative, but in the books, I'm putting in Graham's temporary owners there. And let's get into our final segment, always here on Trainwreck Rules with Aaron Q and myself, Maniac. We have our Vanderpump Power Rankings. So if you haven't followed, we rank our top 5 personas of the episode. Scoring is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 is best, 5 is the 5th best. For scoring, 5th gets 1, 4th gets 2, 3rd gets 3, 2nd gets 4, and 1st gets 5. So Aaron, up to date, our top on the season, it's a 3-headed race at the top of Lisa, James, and Ariana, but I don't know if any of them scored particularly big in this episode.
Oh, I think I'm going to disappoint you then. I think we're going to
okay. Why don't you lead the way? Why don't you lead the way then?
All right. In 5th place, I feel like he continues to be here for me as Schwartz coming in, but it seems like more it's a lack of other people doing anything. But I still felt he had more redeeming qualities in this episode than not. Ariana was early on, was trending towards being one of my top picks in this, but she gets 4 spot. And then at 3, I got Lala. I thought she had a solid episode. 2 and 1, man. I think they're having the best episode or the season so far. It's James coming in at 2 and Lisa Vanderpump coming in at 1, killing it with the end. A great finale for the 2 of them. Maybe it's recency bias in my power rankings.
Yeah, no. It's not recency bias, and I may have been a little off in my portrayal, I guess, of my rankings because we're not too different. I have 5 Schwartz. Again, trying to make do with what he can. I don't know what the Joe situation's going on. That's a little bit cloudy. 4, James, you're hosting the party. You spent $2,000 on it. You got to get some dap for that, whether it's a win or a loss. 3, Lala, looking for that growth, looking for that continued. The reminder of her and James' relationship and all the parallels that they've had over the last 6 to 7 years was telling as well. And very nice, Vanderpump storytelling there. 2, Lisa, looking out for Sandoval, even when nobody else will. That's a very good point. And then, I kind of telegraphed it in my earlier one, but number 1 is Graham. Graham literally went from not being on Vanderpump Rules to being on Vanderpump Rules, back as a main story line. So,
and some drama coming ahead for Graham, it looks like, in the teaser trailer.
It does look like some drama ahead for Graham. And folks, stay tuned for all the drama here on Trainer Sorts with myself and Aaron Quinn. Make sure you're following him at Aaron Quinn 716 because this is the show where people follow our lead. So make sure to have a good night now.